ideas around action. So, show of hands, who's already involved in some resistance against prevent already? Hands up high. Okay, we have our new army. So I think just to start, in this space alone, it's really important to kind of build a coalition between staff, students, and academics. Because whilst we've seen stronger and stronger resistance and opposition within students' unions, actually people are abandoning the academic spaces where the real battle takes place. It's the academics that are going to have to say no and potentially put their job on the line as a consequence, and further to that, face their own freedoms being hindered. And also, we're still at such an early stage where we haven't even yet been able to articulate what actually taking on this beast looks like for those academics, and beyond that, how this training is going to manifest. So in some cases, it is compulsory. In others, it hasn't been presented in that way. I think that it's also important for us to understand the reality. Does anybody, who here is from Goldsmiths? Okay. Keep your hand up if you know how Prevent functions within your institution. Okay, so we've got like less than 5 people. So you don't even know what the reality of Prevent is within your own university. And I think that it's important, for example, through freedom of information, forms which a few of us are developing, perhaps speak to us at the end, or contact Defend the Right to Protest in the Black Students Campaign if you want to know more about that, to receive information about how exactly it is functioning within your institutions is quite important. And also expanding that. So it's enough for you to be armed with that knowledge, but what are you doing to inform everyone around you, your classmates, other academics that may not be so aware of what exactly it is that they're going through. I remember having a conversation with a sabbatical officer who said, oh, actually, I wanted to come and tell you that Prevent is not so bad in our university. And I said, oh, really? How come? And she said that, they're not using all these, they're not really fixating on the Islamic Society or obsessing about our speakers. They're really actually just supporting our mental health services. And I said, and I had to sit down and explain to her the reality of what it means. I said that in some ways it's actually more dangerous. I'd rather they just focus on like the speakers that are coming through your unions than having such a big role to play within your counselling services, which is going to mean that particularly your Black and Muslim students who knowing the reality of our white supremacist education system are going to need to access those services at some point throughout their degrees. Are going to develop an extreme distrust. And so it took her back and she had to totally rethink it. And that was largely also some of our fault because of the way that we'd framed, we'd look at certain cases in isolation from how it's embedded within all our services and across our society. I think beyond that as well, talking to those that are likely to be the victims of Prevent, often you'll have even some, UCU branches that are great, have great resources, are great at creating events, but haven't even communicated with Muslim students in their institutions. They don't know what the reality is for their Islamic Society, how the police is targeting them, particularly if they sit on the committee, and how they're just internalizing the Islamophobia and just enduring it in general. Beyond that as well, we've got a conference coming up in early May, which again I urge you all to attend and to just generally help us spread the word. It will look at how Prevent is being implemented across all services, so looking at healthcare, education, and expanding it out. Also, you've got something that you can take away and do in less than a couple of days' time. On Wednesday is the UCU Black members called for an anti-racism day of action. And so some unions are using it to highlight the issues around Prevent and generally the hypocrisy of Cameron coming out and saying, on the one hand, that he's really concerned with the lack of Black people in the top institutions of higher education, whilst he facilitates resources and funds one of the biggest racist projects that mean the further marginalization, isolation, profiling, and targeting of Black students when they enter those spaces to begin with. I want to stick to time. So I'm going to leave it there, but perhaps we can talk further during the discussion.